All right, we should be on, I think. Perhaps.
We can go ahead, man.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to say JPP is going to probably command less money now, the older he gets, coming off a neck injury, coming off the firework injury, than he probably would have going forward. I think he's going to be willing to take more of a team deal than 14, but if you've got it, why not spend it? I think that's not a bad plan for Tampa Bay. I don't think it's great. I think you could probably... It really depends what winds up being out there, because there's a good chance that there are better free agents out there than what you have. So
I think Shaq's going to ask for more, and I think Conklin's going to ask for more.
And Shaq definitely could ask for that 19 number you gave, but 16 might get the job done. It's close. I think Conklin for 16 or so might get the job done, but the problem with free agency is might isn't always good enough. Sometimes it has to be.
That's the problem.
I'm going above and beyond everybody else to get this guy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So I'm not so sure. Again. Will, to go to your point here, talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the numbers that it's going to take them. Why do I have more comments now? What is this?
That's what my thing did.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's you know what? I don't understand what Facebook
guys,
is.
I want you to know right now, if you're in here and you're commenting and we are not commenting back, it's not because we don't want to talk to you.
It's just because we don't like you.
Facebook is acting super weird, and we're not getting the comments. Guys, we apologize immensely. I don't know what's going on here.
No, I don't either, but that's okay. Let's get back to it.
Frustrating.
Real quick, let's talk about the Tom Brady thing. Is he a Patriot for you next year?
No.
No, I'm not saying like you're in charge. Does he wind up there? You think they're going to cut ties?
Oh, his family was legitimately here in Nashville looking at private schools. I think he is literally looking to go somewhere else.
I hope you're right. I would take Tom Brady for the right price over Ryan Tannehill. For the right price. And the reason I say that is because Tannehill is not going to give the right price. Tannehill is going to ask for $30 million. And as much as I loved this season, as much as I thought it was one of the most magical ones ever for any journeyman quarterback coming into a team, I mean, it was great, but you can't give this guy $30 million and expect anything to happen. I don't know if that's me or whether I'm just watching the old thing and Facebook's not updating. It says we're still on.
We're still good.
Facebook is just lying to me right now. So I'm leaning on you for comments here, but
guys, I want to again remind you, if you're commenting and we're not commenting back, it's not on purpose. We got some technical difficulties. Facebook's not working with us, but Ian, good to see you. Says it's XFL time. Are we even excited for this?
Yes.
Are we though?
Yes, because I normally would have to wait 28 weeks or something along those lines. It might even be more than that.
Yes,
28 weeks before I have to watch any football ever again. I have to look at college speculation. I'm still going to talk about the draft. I'm still going to talk about the offseason. I'm still going to talk about everything else going on. But I get to watch real on-the-field football. I am excited.
1 point,
that might
2
change
points,
2
3
weeks from
points.
now when I watch it and I'm like, this is terrible. This is what am I watching? But for right now, before it happens, before it's bad, Drew, it's great. That's all I can say. It is great. And you know what? I hope it's fantastic, so that way when the NFL potentially goes on strike after next season for up to 2 years, if you listen to the head of the NFLPA, which, God, please don't let that happen. But if it happens, I'm going to have something to watch. Something. And I'll give him credit. Vince McMahon, I crapped on him a little bit when I said, except I wasn't going to say crapped. I crapped on him a little bit when I was like, man, what are you doing waiting to start your league when the AFL is starting, or the AAF is starting right now? But it turns out he was probably thinking about this holdout and what he might be able to do to leverage some players over to his franchise. So props to you, Vince McMahon. You know more about running an NFL league than I do, apparently.
What? You don't know as much as a billionaire does?
Barely. Who's done it before, remember. Poorly, but done it before. Well, I haven't failed at it. I'm 0 for 0. He's 0 for 1.
See, yeah, so you're a little bit above it. Will says, go Vipers. We'll see, man. I think every team has an opportunity to win. Perry says his feed paused, but he reloaded it. We're glad you're back, Perry.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're back, because I can't even get back into our own video, which is great. Which just shows you that Facebook is like the pinnacle of all social media platforms.
Martavius, go for it, man.
What, do I have to read this whole thing?
Yes, you got to read that thing, because it's on yours and not on mine.
He says, Chiefs, let's go Tampa Bay Vipers.
No. You have to say it like he did.
I mean, we'll be here all day if I read all his E's.
Chiefs! Yeah, Martavius, let's go, buddy. Championship, we drinking. We drinking all night long. I had to work on.
I've already run out. Yeah, exactly. Scott says if Brady leaves, his legacy is at risk. See, I think it's almost the opposite. If he leaves, I think we'll make some excuses, like the teams that he went to weren't good enough. And if he wins one, it's going to be, it was all Brady. right? I think all the ball is in his court for legacy-wise. If he does actually leave, I think more than that, you don't ever want to be the guy that hung on too long, even though he's got this many rings, and everyone will talk about how he's probably, in their opinion, the greatest quarterback ever to play the game. But I don't think leaving actually hurts him. I think it helps. And I think it helps Belichick, too, because if Belichick can get one without Tom Brady, he's the guy that has the most risk. If he gets one, then people will be like, Belichick was the guy behind it. But if he doesn't, they're going to be like, he couldn't win without Tom Brady.
Tyler, good to see you, man. He says he loves KC. Perry says the Pats will be back in the thick of things next year, get another good receiver, and he's pretty much saying things will change.
Cheers to that. I don't think it needs to change. I mean, yeah, I know they lost to the Titans, but that was a 1-point affair.
Dude,
Let's face it, that could have gone the other way.
Hold on. Things will change because they play in the weakest division in the NFL.
Well, like I said, things aren't going to change. I'm saying they're not back.
Buffalo's going to be better.
They never left. I know they lost to the Titans by 1 point, but outside of
Buffalo will be better? I think they will be.
They should be. They should be better. Does that mean they will be? I'm still not a Josh Allen guy.
I just don't know what free agents or people retiring that you're like, oh man, the Bills are going to lose everybody. No, there's like everyone.
I think they need to hit on an edge rusher, yes, but I also think Josh Allen has so many ups and downs that next year could just be the year where the downs hit a little bit more than the ups did, because he had some ups this year and they won some close games and everything else. And they played an easy schedule. The entire AFC East played an easy schedule. Maybe the Jets are a little bit better. Maybe the Dolphins are a little bit better, and it's not quite so easy in division. Maybe. I know, laughable, but maybe. And then maybe they don't play as easy of a schedule outside. The NFC East was incredibly weak this year. They played them. Outside of the Patriots, they didn't have a tough game in division. So are you asking me, are the Bills an 11-win team or better next year? I don't know. They could improve as a team, but the record might not be better. Yeah. Josh Allen could certainly slip and not be the same guy, or it could be good. Maybe he takes that progression going forward. Don't hate the guy, but he's kind of like Lamar Jackson in my book, where I'm like, I want to see a couple of years of positive progression before I'm ready to say this guy needs to be your long-term 20-year starter in Buffalo.
Yeah, I get you. Ian, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the love. He says now the most active coach with the most wins and has not won a Super Bowl is Ron Rivera at 79 wins.
What was Reed at? Like 216 or something like that? Or
221?
221? Yeah, I knew it was up there. So
he won his 222nd win on
with the Super Bowl.
February 2nd, 2020.
Cool. A lot of twos.
Yeah, twos.
A lot of twos.
Second time's the charm, right?
So Ron Rivera's next, right?
No.
Washington. They're coming back.
I wish.
Well,
that's my other team.
Back to back. I mean, that'd be crazy. They'd have to beat the Chiefs to get it.
The Chiefs, so it's...
well, at least they'll have a defensive line, right? 49ers had that. They got better.
They should have a great defensive line.
I mean, Chase Young's going there. I know they said they'd trade the pick for a king's ransom, but come on.
Dude.
Someone's gonna trade with the Lions before they trade with the Redskins.
Montez Sweat.
And I think it's gonna be the Dolphins.
Kane, Allen, and then him with Ryan Kerrigan doing a spell. Oh, dude.
It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good.
Not to mention you've got two of the greatest defensive coaches in the league, or two perennially great defensive coaches, maybe not the greatest, but two perennially great defensive coaches with Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera calling those defenses. Should be amazing.
Tyler says he's sick of ESPN.
Won't be. Should be amazing.
Tyler says he's sick of ESPN guys saying that the Niners are the better team. We're the better team. Last time he checked, Kansas City won, and now they say because Mahomes, the whole team.
Doesn't matter who the Chiefs were better on that day, and that's all that matters, right? It doesn't matter. It's semantics. We're debating semantics.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. You go on paper, yeah, 49ers are probably the better team. They probably are, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you're right. We won, and that's the ultimate deciding factor. But you're going to sit there and tell me 9 out of 10 games we win? I don't know, man. It might be more like 6 out of 10 games that we lose. This
if you played it 100 times, I'd probably say 55, 60.
This Niners team is a good team.
I don't know. They're both great teams. Obviously, well, yeah, you don't get here if you're bad. But
great teams. But to be sick of it, I get, man. You just don't want to hear it no
then again,
more.
The Titans almost
let's be realistic. The Niners are a great team, man.
Yes,
I'm glad we faced the Niners. We faced the best team, in my opinion, out of the NFC.
I think so too. I think the Saints were very close. I think even the Vikings and the Packers deserve honorable mentions, but I think the 49ers are the best teams. Best team in the NFC. We'll move on here. Christopher saying he deserved it. I think he's talking about Andy Reid. I don't think there's a whole lot of people out there that are like, man, I'm upset that Andy Reid won it. Maybe some old Cowboys fans that are like, I still hate this guy's guts when he's with the Eagles, but not too many fans are like, forget Andy Reid, don't like that guy. Let's talk about Brady real quick. just real quick, I want to wrap it.
Talking about
I know, but I want to talk about it some more.
Dude,
if he doesn't
get off his nuts, because he might be a Titan, you're like
you've like shut down all of sports talk ever. If you take Tom Brady out, you're cutting down like 60% of sports talk.
Go ahead.
In the past 20 years. No, it's okay. You know what? We'll not talk about Tom Brady. Why don't we talk about the rookie awards?
Why
don't we talk about something you want to talk about, Drew? What do you want to talk about?
Why don't we talk about what they want to talk about? Martavius says, thoughts on Falcons not re-signing Vic Beasley.
I don't think the numbers lined up, but go ahead.
He thinks we should give him an alternative. I can't talk, whatever that is.
He should give him an alternative, especially with Morris as defensive coordinator. Is that what you were trying to go for? I think he was trying to go alternative.
I know, but I was trying to think how he was trying to spin it. What do you mean, like?
Well, I mean, I think everybody knows that the Falcons are going to be drafting an edge rusher.
They're not signing him because he hasn't performed.
Yes, and you have Tack McKinley, who's kind of in that same boat, and also younger, where McKinley's a little bit bigger. Vic Beasley's like an undersized pass rusher that, even though he had a dominant year in 2016 when they went to the Super Bowl. Outside of that, he hasn't been very good, and he had numbers this year, and he had numbers on the back half where supposedly the trade talk was out there where he's like, oh, the Falcons aren't interested in bringing me back, and then he put up a lot of sacks afterward. It's kind of like what we argued about before. A lot of teams don't like that in a guy where they're like, you're only playing hard in the moments where it benefits you to play hard. They want the team player instead. I think the Falcons are okay to move on. I don't think Vic Beasley is that team player, the guy that's going to sacrifice himself on every play and play 120%, because I just feel like that's what I've seen from him. And maybe some injuries have played some part in that, but I think more than that, it was Vic Beasley played hard in moments, and then there were other times where he was just taken out of the play. The Falcons weren't a great team, and he kind of like sat back on his heels and said, well, if we're not going to be good, I'm not going to give it my all. I think moving on from Vic Beasley is 100% fine. I think everyone under the sun knows the Falcons are drafting an edge rusher. It's probably, in my opinion, going to be Curtis Weaver, Boise State, I think. I think he's going to be the guy that's probably there because I think Epeneza's gone, and obviously Chase Young will be gone. I think Curtis Weaver's the next best one, but it could be that Yetur Gross-Matos from, Notre Dame? I think it's Notre Dame. It could be him because I see a lot of people putting him up there because he's very athletic. Moral of the story is you're taking one of those four guys, I think.
And then you go during the free agency and you put your hand in maybe McClowney. Maybe try to get him over there.
You could, and I think the moral of the story is you need somebody next to Grady Jarrett. Who, again, another Pro Bowl season for him. Another great year on the interior. You need to get that edge pressure to go with it.
You sit there and you draft a young guy.
I just don't know that Clowney's worth the money is the problem.
It's fixed, though.
I know, but he's going to be a $20 million edge rusher. 19, he's 18, whatever. And
what are the Falcons looking at, though?
No, I know. I'm not talking
right now. Matt Ryan's getting older.
Sure, but again, is he the guy that when you play the Chiefs...
Jones only has like a year or two
But let me ask you this. Is he the guy that when you play the Chiefs... Yeah. Is he the guy that when you play the Chiefs, Clowney is going to do enough to get you the win or slow the Chiefs down, kind of like that 49ers D-line is? I don't know. I think the young guy might be the better option, even though the window's closing. I'm with you. Window's closing. Maybe the safe thing is we go pay Clowney.
You can still draft the young guy and go get Clowney.
Sure. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you could. You definitely could invest that much.
Double down on where you're hurting.
I think more than that, they want to keep Tack McKinley on the field because he is still young. I think they want to get him the reps, and they're like, hopefully we didn't spend that kind of pick on a guy.
The Niners just proved you don't need two big guys in the middle.
I'm with you, man. I am with you. But I'm saying I don't know that Clowney is that guy. It's a viable path. I just don't know that that's the one I'm taking from the Falcons. Instead, I think I'm drafting, and I'm just going to go the cheaper route. It's a lot of money to pay to a guy that doesn't rush the passer as well as he defends the run. And in today's NFL, one has more value than the other. You want the guy getting after the quarterback.
Frank, good to see you, man. Thank you on the congratulations. He says it was a great Super Bowl win.
Chris says the 49ers will be back for revenge. So you actually have some comments now. Isn't this great?
Martavius says our cap is not looking that good. Dude, there's always opportunity to create
wiggle room.
Yes. Always opportunity.
Unless you're Tampa Bay from last year. Because there was no... They were talking about, like, we have to trade people and cut people.
Or if you're a terrible GM and you don't know how to work
Tampa Bay from last year. They were like, we have to cut people to sign our rookies. Yeah, so I get you. Again, even with your cap, there is wiggle room, but $19 million worth of wiggle room that I think Jadeveon Clowney is going to stay in Seattle for might not be viable. So I'm with you on that. I think the rookie makes the most sense, and I think it's going to be Curtis Weaver. You heard it here first. Not spoiler alert to my mock draft that I'm going to do. I think it's going to be Curtis Weaver from Boise State. A couple more of these comments here. Tyler says the defense made this, already read Chris's where he said they're going to be back. The 49ers are going to be back with a vengeance. Tyler goes on to say the defense made the stops when they needed, talking about Kansas City. And yes, the best teams did play and they won. So he has to give the D credit. Let's not forget, it was the first Super Bowl for a lot of players. Absolutely. And that's exactly what I said. People underrate experience and how important that is to a team. We look at what Tom Brady did, in last year's Super Bowl, and we kind of forget that he wasn't the same guy in his first one. This is the first Super Bowl from Mahomes, so everyone being critical on him, it's like the pressure got to him a little bit. Same thing with Garoppolo. Garoppolo was terrible when the Chiefs put him under pressure at all. I mean, the interception, I think he closed his eyes on, so I'm 100% with you. Chris says Joe LSU. If you're talking about Joe Burrow, Christopher, he's going to Cincinnati. I'm not sure what your question is necessarily. I know you have your question mark next to it. Joe Burrow's going to Kansas City. You might as well write that in Sharpie. I mean, put it on the board. I think they've already turned the card into the commissioner. Joe Burrow will be a Cincinnati Bengal with the first overall pick, barring some massive Cincinnati mess up between now and then. I don't know that there's a scandal big enough for Joe Burrow, short of him going to prison for the rest of his life, that Cincinnati would not draft him. I just don't buy it. I don't.
What did I walk into?
Christopher asked me Joe Burrow, LSU, question mark. And all I'm saying is he's going to Cincinnati, period.
Yeah, no doubt.
What would it take? Vehicular manslaughter? Like, you'd have to go to jail for 5 years or something like that before for them not to take him? I think Joe Burrow has it, made in the shade. Draft pick-wise, he has a lot of work to do as soon as he gets to those Bengals. But he's got to be the first overall pick. And I think there's been the least debate this year, maybe ever. Because even last year with Kyler Murray, there were people like, Oakland's going to take him. People are going to trade up. They're going to pass on him because they have Rosen. I feel like forever we've had a little bit of kind of question mark. There's no question mark here. Him and Chase Young, 1 and 2.
And Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was the last one where, that's a...
I felt like even there, people were like, no. Don't we want RG3 from Baylor?
No
I know
way.
you and I were like, Andrew Luck looks like he's going to be the next great quarterback. But there were people saying that RG3 was the best guy because Baylor, again, ran that spread offense and you were just chewing up all these bad Big 12 defenses.
It's crazy. Justin Good to See says, congrats to Andy Reid. Well-deserved. Don't call it a comeback. Congratulations to Chief Organization for a long 50 years. Well done.
Have they been here for years? See, he could have worked that in there.
Any chance of a repeat next year?
Yes. Always a chance. But I'm willing to bet at least one of these teams gets that Super Bowl hangover and it doesn't happen. If you were giving me the field versus these two teams, I'd take the field no matter the odds. I mean, look at the Rams. Everyone was like, the Rams are coming back. They're going to be great. Look at the Patriots. Everyone's like, Patriots are always going to be in it. It's Eagles, same way. Eagles, I mean, this is a great team, and they're still put together. I mean, if you look at the Eagles right now, they're pretty close to the same team that they were when they went to the Super Bowl. They've got that defensive line that's great. They've got a lot of offensive linemen. Yes, they've had a little bit of rotation, and they've had some injuries, but they still have the majority of that group together, and sometimes it just doesn't work out because football is just a tough, physical, violent game. You can't just bet on both these teams coming back. Small chance they do because we love these teams, but I'd take the field if I'm a betting man.
I believe in Brett Veach and Andy Reid's scouting system, and there's glaring holes on this team. Even though we just won a Super Bowl, there's issues. The offensive line got tore apart. All 3 games we played the postseason, our offensive line got tore apart. We need desperate help in the middle, which I think will secure our outsides, but maybe we might be looking to change our left tackle. I know Eric Fisher has been a decent player since we've taken him, but he isn't one of those powerhouses at left tackle. Maybe we need to look to change that.
Is there a potential they move Schwartz over to the left side? Because, Schwartz has been one of the best tackles in the game.
Yeah, but no.
You think they leave him on the... Just don't mess with success?
Even when Eric Fisher was out, Schwartz stayed on the right side. I don't see really why they would do it now.
True.
But realistically, the issue is in the
But if you give an offseason to work on it...
There's the issues in the middle. Let's plain and simple. It starts with our center, even though I forget his name. It starts with an R. He's played well, but that's where our weakness is right in the middle. Because the middle collapses, and then the guys know to kind of... the guards kind of drift towards that way, and they're not elite guards. I used to think that Canadian Doctor is probably our best offensive lineman, but ever since that injury, he's kind of had a downfall.
I mean, guys have good stretches too. Yeah, that's the thing. Guys have good games. They have good 8 weeks, good 12 weeks.
They
have bad ones too.
The pot at the end of the rainbow kind of scenario. We pick up a quote Quentin Nelson, and it would be changing right there.
I can't think of what his name is. The kid from Tulsa. Nobody's talking about him because he's had 2 season-ending injuries. He's going to be Quentin Nelson in this draft. He's going to be a 3rd round pick.
Maybe he'll be there at 32.
He's going to be a 3rd round pick. Someone's going to take him in the 2nd or 3rd round. This guy is a mauler. Like, I was watching some tape on him. I've never seen a man move men that size the way he moves them. There's questions on his pass blocking, sure, but he's not the same guy Quentin Nelson was. Otherwise, we'd be talking about he's the 5th of the best player in the draft. I can't think of the guy's name from the life of me, but look it up. Dude is going to be like the best 2nd round pick ever. I hope the Titans get him. I hope we have that kind of foresight. He's going to be one of the best guards in this draft, and nobody is talking about him. Nobody.
You just ruined it, dude. Not everyone's going to be talking.
I hope so. I do. I mean, because this guy's going to be great. There are good guards in this draft. The kid from Ohio State. Again, I'm screwing up these names right now. I
haven't even started the draft stuff yet.
The kid from Ohio State that had a great Senior Bowl. I think it's not Jacobs. It's something like that. It's like Josh Jacobs, but it's not. It's close to that. He's going to be pretty good, too.
You've had 2 weeks start on me because your team's out now.
No, I've had like 12 weeks start on you. Actually, how long has the season been? Because I've been like the college football analyst, too. No, I mean, I've been tracking a lot of this stuff. We've seen these guys kind of grow for the past couple of years. There's going to be good guards in this draft. I don't think there's a lot of good centers, but I think there's some good guards in this one.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's going to fix Kansas City's offensive issues, but I think that's where we start.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we want to talk about these awards? Just to round it out? I want to talk about Kyler Murray, dude. I knew it was going to happen, maybe in the back of my mind because he's a quarterback, getting the Offensive Rookie of the Year, but really? Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, see, I'm mentioning my guy less. A.J. Brown.
Let me hit these.
All three of those guys, much better.
Let me hit these last 2 comments
Sure.
here. Chris says the 49ers will be back in the playoffs again, and they will get what we deserve, and that's a ring and a championship.
Don't you have enough? Isn't 5 enough?
Do they deserve it?
Yeah, I think both those teams deserve it. I think both teams, I wasn't going to look at this and be like, one of these teams stole it. Like, if it was Houston or Tennessee, I might have been like, wow, that was a magical run, and they had that Cinderella story, kind of like the Giants did back in the day. I think both these teams were great from the outset. And I was saying before, everyone not saying the Chiefs weren't like the favorite for the AFC. I think we were just forgetting how explosive that offense can be. Check the tape. I said it before the playoffs started.
Justin says he's not completely sold on Burrow going to the Bengals just yet. Anything could happen. Hell, he could pull an Eli and wind his way out of it, but it wouldn't shock.
I think I'd take him anyway.
It wouldn't shock to see the Panthers make a splash, trade up to number 1, and grab Joe. But hey, just a wild thought.
If I'm Cincinnati, and I know Cincinnati is historically not a great decision-making franchise, but let's say I'm Cincinnati, and I'm in charge of it, I'll call the bluff. I think Joe Burrow's that kind of talent. I'll be like, fine, then let's see what happens. Are you going to sit out for a year and not play football?
I'll give you this.
I'll call the bluff.
I'll give you this before you finish your comment. They've not been a good decision-making team outside of the quarterback position because you got to think Carson Palmer, Andy Dalton. Those were good guys coming out of the draft. I don't blame them for taking either one of those guys.
I agree with that.
But John Kitna might have been a little bit of a question mark, but
they also had Fitzpatrick. I think they drafted him. I think he was a Bengal first, but he's been on like every NFL team, so it's hard to keep track. I know he was on that team for a while behind Carson Palmer.
He spent the most time in Buffalo.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time in Buffalo, but I'm pretty sure he started in Cincinnati behind Carson Palmer, and then he was just like the bottom of the roster guy.
You're like, why are you here?
Exactly, and then they let him walk to like every NFL team at this point. Let me say this, Justin. Who's it going to be if it's not Burrow? Because I think everybody knows it's not Andy Dalton anymore in Cincinnati. Is it? Are you going to bet on Tua Tagovailoa coming out of Alabama with the injuries? I think he has. If he never got hurt a single time in college, I think you could say you go with the consistent quarterback that's been better for his whole time playing.
It'd be a question mark then, but there's no question mark here. It's Burrow.
Yeah, I think so. Like if it's not Joe Burrow, I'll eat Andrew's hat and then buy him a new one. I can't picture a scenario where something between now and then.
I don't want it to be Burrow. I want to see
you
me
eat the hat.
I'll
probably just pour some beer over it.
There's no way
soften it up
with a season like that. Because, I mean, Justin, you know this.
I'm not a hat guy or eat mine.
Not only did he win the Heisman and win the championship, he dominated like every record you could think of that matters.
It was the best season of college football I think I've ever seen in my life from a quarterback.
Yes.
From a quarterback. And the crazy thing is, I think Chase Young might have had the best year I've ever seen from a defensive end for Ohio State. Yeah. Just the dominance, the just blowing everybody up. Amazing that those both happened in the same year. Maybe you could say Clowney's junior year was better because that was amazing. And I think it was capped off with the Michigan hit on, Deontay Robinson.
And you could say there's been players that have better games than either one of these guys played. Because I think of Vince Young against the USC team within that championship. I mean,
would you take it over Joe Burrow's dismantling of Oklahoma and the 7-touchdown first half in the playoffs and you bench your quarterback?
No, my point is like there's been other players that had great moments, but there's never been a player like this that has done it consistently for one. Even if it's just 1 year, he did it all year long.
And he did it in this SEC in this era where where nobody's saying like this isn't the best conference and it's not the best defensive conference.
What's the biggest flaw he might have?
Consistency. Like, what if this is a fluke? Well, I think that's it. And his arm's not the strongest. I think everyone that wants a Jay Cutler arm He doesn't have a Jay Cutler arm. He can throw downfield. He can influence plays, but he doesn't have.
I don't think that.
He's not Patrick Mahomes.
I think his biggest issue is he's never been under pressure, in the sense of.
Well, in the SEC, their line did face some pressure.
No, not that kind of pressure. I'm down by 7. I got to score 7 and a touchdown after that. That's really not anything you've seen from him.
The Alabama game, I feel like, was close enough that it was contested. I think Alabama was like that. Even Clemson, they trailed them in the national championship into the third quarter.
But after that, it was just dominance. He's never really had a team like fight back.
You mean like last drive, like it's on you, Joe, kind of
where
stuff?
It's like you've got to score this. You got to score it quick. And let's not all forget, that's college. This is not the NFL.
And Ian says, knowing Cincinnati, they'll pick a punter out of Holy Cross with the first pick. Yes, and you know what? They're going to need that punter, so maybe it's a great pick. If they get a Brett Kern, perennial all-pro punter, I'm going to say great pick, Cincinnati. No, I'm just kidding. Christopher also says he hopes Joe does not go to Cincinnati. He deserves better than that. Yes.
Perry, this is Homer Simpson as Buddha, and this is a lazy turtle with eyeglasses on.
We don't know what that is. It just kind of showed up one day.
It makes sense.
Fair enough.
That's what I look like when I'm not on the show.
Do we want to do more draft coverage? Because I live for this.
No.
I love this time of year.
Dude, no.
I mean, the games are all right, but I mean, off-season, that's what gets me hyped.
No, because I haven't done any kind of like prep for this at all.
Okay, then let's talk about Kyler Murray real quick before we get out of here. Let's talk about him winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I do want to talk about Lamar Jackson being the MVP. But I want to talk about Kyler Murray first. I want to talk about, is it conceivable that a quarterback like this, to you, is there a justification for him winning the award over Josh Jacobs, over Miles Sanders, over A.J. Brown? Outside of that, he's the quarterback, and the quarterback is the most important position, so we give it to the best quarterback kind of mentality that I think is the reason he won this award.
No, but I do want to defend it. I do want to defend this award, and the only because everyone's so smashing it about him winning it. But let's be honest here. What you saw out of him in Arizona, with the amount of weapons he had, with that terrible offensive line, with no running game until they brought on Kenyon Drake, I mean, this guy is the future of the Arizona Cardinals. Does he deserve this? I think there's other questionable players that probably deserve it a little bit more than he does.
You can have an amazing career and not be Rookie of the Year.
But this guy is the future of that organization,
yes.
And I think it's kind of like a feel-good story to let him win it. But that's not what the award's about.
You know who didn't feel good too? Josh Jacobs, who played with a broken shoulder for half the season.
And that's what I'm saying.
Miles Sanders.
It's not the right move, but then again, how many we talk about it all the time. It doesn't matter who deserves it. Who's the quarterback?
Well, let's talk about our award, because the NFL's award does not matter. Let's talk about our award. Who are you giving it to? You don't want to do it. You don't want to give it to him.
I don't want to give it to him because it's your guy. It's AJ Brown.
And you say I'm a hater.
It's AJ Brown. Right. It really honestly is. And I'll tell you why. Is because who's throwing into him is not an elite passer. None of them are. And this guy has more, 40-yard touchdowns than like majority.
50, but yeah.
Majority of the NFL. He broke 1,000 yards. He's playing for a team that doesn't throw the ball, and he went for 1,000 yards. He looks great. He looks like a true number one. And what have I been hounding Jake consistently about his Titans is you don't got a number one receiver. Well, I can't say that no more.
I hope you're right. For the love of God, I hope you're right. But I would probably give it to A.J. Brown too. Again, he was not the focal point of an offense. They gave him. There were some games where they threw to him 3 times and he'd catch every one of them, or he'd catch 2 out of 3 and find a way to break off like 100 yards. Whereas Josh Jacobs, I think the reason I would shy away from that, he'd be my number 2 pick. But outside of that, the reason I wouldn't give it to Jacobs over A.J. Brown is because he was the focal point for that. He was the guy that made the Oakland offense go for like 10 weeks. And that's important, but he was getting a ton of touches. He was getting a ton of everything. So, yes, he was going to have success. I think Miles Sanders
got hurt.
Miles Sanders had a great season. Jordan Howard did some of the work. There were some times where you had some doubts about him being the best running back in that backfield and whether he was the option they needed to go with. I think towards the end he kind of established that, hey, I know Jordan Howard went through some injuries, but he kind of established like I'm a great running back and I'm going to be probably the future of this backfield. But I would go A.J. Brown too. Again, that explosiveness I think is what made the Titans season because they couldn't throw the ball deep. Almost every one of those 50-yard plays you were talking about came off an 8-yard pass that he managed to juke 2 guys or shove somebody off of him and break open. They had about one that I can specifically remember off the top of my mind that was down the field passing. We just didn't have the line for it. Everything was short, and he would just make the play after the catch.
You legitimately have a number one receiver.
But now I want to talk about Lamar Jackson. I don't want to make it all about me. Okay, I want to talk about MVP. Is he
I
your
say
MVP?
you, but it's the Titans.
Yes. Well, I'm on the Titans, right?
Hold on, I got a comment here.
Sure.
Christopher says, put Kyler Murray in Kansas City and you still would have went to the Super Bowl.
Well, we've seen Matt Moore look pretty good. We've seen Alex Smith look pretty good. Is that so far-fetched?
No.
I don't think you go to the Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback. I mean,
don't think you go to the Super Bowl
Mahomes
with
couldn't
that.
go to the Super Bowl last year, and I think
I don't-
Mahomes is significantly better
I don't
than
think
Kyler
we're going to
Murray
the
at
Super
this
Bowl
point.
with Matt Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
you
a bold
would?
take. No, not a bold take.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I agree.
You're like, oh, they look good. You don't go to the Super Bowl with Matt Moore.
We beat the Vikings.
You don't
That
go.
was a
You don't go to the
playoff
Super
team.
Bowl with Kyler Murray.
Could Matt Moore beat the Titans and beat the Houston Texans? I think he could. I'm not going to say he would, but I think he could. Go to the Super Bowl? Potentially. I don't know that Matt Moore overcomes that 24-point deficit. How about that? If the game goes the same, I don't know that Matt Moore gets you there. But I think this Chiefs offense does a great job of maximizing talent at
Now, hold on.
quarterback. And I think
Christopher
Kyler Murray has some talent at quarterback.
Christopher says all he's saying is give it a respectable quarterback, an O-line, and they will make plays.
Yes, that's not what we're saying.
Kansas City O-line looks terrible in the postseason.
But that's also not what we're saying. We're not saying Kyler Murray will never be a great player. We're not saying any of that. We're not even saying he had a bad year, because I think he had a good year.
Yeah.
But I don't think he had a better year than those three other rookies. I think he plays quarterback, and that's why people talked about him getting, or that's why he got the Rookie of the Year, because of the position he plays, not the year he had versus everybody else. As for Kyler Murray, again, we're not harsh on that. We weren't harsh on Josh Rosen when the Cardinals were successful. That roster needs a lot of work. We all know that. He took the team from, 2 wins to 5? That's improvement. That's what you want to see. Now I want to see him go from 5 to 7 or 8. And I want to see the team get better. I want to see Cliff Kingsbury's offense kind of, blossom a little bit, because this year was a lot more simplistic, and it had to be with the offensive line. We want to see improvement from every facet of Cardinals football, period, basically, outside of Chandler Jones. I mean, you just keep doing what you're doing. Maybe Patrick Peterson.
Robert, good to see you, man. We're glad you got off of work. He just want to say congratulations to the Chiefs, and he's still shocked how Kyle, sorry, the comment moved. Kyle did at the end of the first half and stopped running the ball during the game.
Yeah, but I said it before, and it was one of my keys to the game. Like, you can't let the Chiefs get in your head, and I think the Chiefs got in his head. That's why at halftime you saw him not take timeouts, because he was like, can't give Kansas City the ball back.
Ian says he feels bad for Shady McCoy being left out of the Super Bowl roster.
It's tough, but he's still going to get a ring. He still helped, right?
Matt Moore's out of the roster, and he's getting a ring.
Was he not active?
No, he was, but I'm just saying, like.
Well, he didn't play. Well, I think
he didn't play.
Didn't they leave Shady on inactive though? I mean,
yeah, but I'm just saying he didn't play.
Sure. I mean,
Chad Henne,
these are the
Chad
tough
Henne
decisions you have to
didn't
make.
play.
These are the tough decisions you have to make. Yeah. Chad Henne's still going to take that ring to the bank, though. He's taking it. That's going to be like centerpiece on his mantle. I'm a Super Bowl champion, even though I didn't dress for the game.
I have said this all year long. Damian Williams was the best running back on that roster,
and I agree. At this point, yes, obviously.
And McCoy was used when he needed to be used, but we could run with 2 running backs in that system and lean on Sherman if, God forbid, Thompson and Damian got hurt.
Yeah.
But we needed more defensive backs, and that's where it went. You saw, obviously, with Fuller and Felton and Swanson and Lucas, all those guys, there's a reason why we had that many safeties back there, is because you took a running back off of the roster, and that's the reason why he did not go out there, including defensive linemen as well.
Martavius says, remember, it was 28-3 in the comeback to haunt Shanahan. I mean, I get it, but I didn't feel like the play calling was bad outside of the timeouts. I really didn't. I know people were looking for more running game in the second half, and I do understand that, but you also have to play a little bit aggressive against Kansas City. I didn't fault him for trying to throw. It's just I feel like Jimmy G wilted more than it was Kyle Shanahan. I think Jimmy G just couldn't make some plays happen. And that's, again, young quarterback in the Super Bowl, huge moment, and we're like, oh, no, it didn't work out. Experience is key. Experience is huge. And you know what now both of these guys have? That experience.
Yeah, they do.
So, again, going forward, hopefully they can overcome that. Christopher goes on to say that, okay, give Deshaun Watson Kansas City's offensive line and tell me where he would be. Just the offensive line? I mean, Deshaun Watson's had a terrible offensive line in Houston. This year was somewhat better. And Laramie Tunsil looks like he's a good player, but he also had 39 false starts. He didn't have that many, but it was a lot. He doubled more than the next guy.
He hit the gas mask a little bit too early each game.
And he's going to be a good left tackle for them. They paid too much for him, but he's going to be a good left tackle. His line has been terrible, and worse than Kansas City even in Houston. They've been atrocious.
Well, I'll tell you this, Christopher, and I know you're not a Texans fan, is it's going to be another bad year until Bill O'Brien's gone. They just made him the GM of the team.
Well, you say that.
It's
I
going to be
I don't know about his
bad year. And I say bad year, they'll probably maybe still get the playoffs, but they're not going to do anything.
That's the thing. He's won the AFC South 4 out of like the 7 years he's been there.
I've been.
I know.
I bring it up all the time.
What do we call success? He's getting them close. He just can't get them over the hump.
He's not fixing the most glaring hole.
I don't love the coach being the GM. I don't love it, but. Maybe he knows better than anyone else in that Texans organization. It's the right call. I hope not. As a Titans fan, I hope not. I'd love nothing more than Bill O'Brien to sink the ship.
He's not fixing the most glaring hole, and that's the offensive line.
Well, they tried, and what did they do? They sent all their picks away to go get Laramie Tunsil.
And they made a mistake.
Yeah, I agree. It was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much. I agree.
And their draft picks didn't pan out either.
Yeah, well,
so far.
Miami's hoping those first rounders they got pan out. So I'm with you on that. Okay. Lamar Jackson, we'll get out of here. And Chris is saying, let Bill O'Brien go. Again, what a tough spot to be in. This guy it's kind of like Marvin Lewis. The guy keeps taking us to the playoffs. We're just not winning there. What do you do about that? I don't know. And he has not ideally had the best quarterback play forever. He's had Deshaun Watson for 3 years now. 3 years now. And I think twice he's taken him to the playoffs with him. So at what point do you say, we can wait a year or two before we make that decision? I think it's okay to wait. I do. I would hire a GM. I wouldn't give him all the power. But for everyone saying off with his head.
What if you could have got Mike McCarthy?
I still think I go Bill O'Brien.
What if you could have got Ron Rivera?
Remember what everyone complains about with bad quarterbacks? They keep changing the system. I believe there's a little bit to that. A little bit to it. And I like Mike McCarthy.
I'll give you that.
I like Mike McCarthy, but their offense was not significantly better or worse. It was almost statistically the same with Matt LaFleur. I mean, McCarthy's a good coach, but I don't know that if you bring McCarthy in and you change everything, you throw it all out, that's the right move for a team that theoretically probably thinks its Super Bowl window's open. Well, and I don't think it is. I don't think it's a great roster.
They're hitting the playoffs, and what if you bring in someone that's like that?
What if you hit a couple game changers? What if you hit a Juan Thornhill and you catch another great rookie in the secondary, and all of a sudden the defense is legit again? What if you catch an edge rusher like a Max Crosby?
That's not the question. That's the issue. They haven't done that.
I know.
How many drafts did they have? We're like, dude, this offensive line's terrible. Let's do something about it.
Well, now that GM is gone.
Hey,
and now it's Bill O'Brien.
Our secondary is like 80 years old. We should probably do something about
it. Yeah, it is an issue. Yes. Well, we'll just sign.
Our pass rushers are getting hurt every year.
We'll just sign the guy that wasn't good enough for Denver.
Do something about it.
We'll just sign the guy that's not good enough for Denver to play cornerback, and that'll be fine.
Hey,
I can't think what his name is.
We have one good guy. Let's trade him away.
Who's that?
Clowney.
Oh, Clowney. Well, he held out and wanted a massive contract. And to be fair, they were like, he's not getting sacks. And that's the thing. You respect the sacks. I like Clowney too.
It's crazy.
But I understand the pensiveness. When a guy's getting like 8 sacks a year, you're like, I don't want to pay him like he's Aaron Donald. Okay. Lamar Jackson? Perhaps? We want to call it a day?
We can do. Well, I mean, I'm ready to end it because I'm exhausted from working all day. Ian says, "How long until we start seeing world champion Kansas City Chiefs gear and stuff on the bar?" Well, I'll tell you.
Well, I'm not buying it.
He's gonna buy it for me.
Yeah,
because he's my sugar daddy.
I think I might fly out to Africa and go buy some of that 49ers World Championship gear.
No, as soon as I get it, we'll be up. But I don't even know if I'm getting it, man. I don't know. I don't know.
The Mahomes cereal box is enough, huh? Well, it's got that staying power.
That was a gift.
Exactly. All right, we'll move on. Mark Tavy says he can't wait for our predictions on who will win Week 1 of the XFL. I'm going to have to read before I decide that. I know there's like 2 teams with good quarterbacks, and that's about it. So bet on them. But we'll talk about that.
I'm off on the draft. I'm off on XFL.
I am too. I've been sleeping on the XFL. I'll give you credit. I have to go look at it before.
I got so much research to do.
And then I will give you the greatest opinion on the XFL you've ever heard, probably Thursday, because the action starts this weekend.
Are you speaking for me?
I do all the time.
No, I will give you the greatest opinion on the XFL ever.
Fair enough. All right. It was fun.
It was.
Lamar Jackson, as great of a year as he had, was not the most valuable player by definition of value in my book. It was Russell Wilson, because I think if you take Russell Wilson out of the Seahawks, that team wins 4 games. 6 games, something like that. I don't think they're a good team without Russell Wilson. I think there were a lot of Pro Bowlers on the Ravens.
You're more realistic on 4 games than 6 games.
Yeah. I think there were a lot of great players in the Ravens. And I think even with...
My question is, does RG3 win more than 4 games of this?
But you have to take RG3 and put him in both scenarios. Like, if RG3 plays for the Seahawks...
I'm just saying, do you put RG3...
I think they win some games. I think they beat Cincinnati. I think they beat Cleveland. I think they beat... I know they split with Cleveland this year, but...
yes, it would be the question.
Yeah, I think RG3 probably wins more than 4 with this team. I mean, they had 12 Pro Bowlers. That offensive line is just massive and destructive. The running backs are killer. I mean, Ingram is a game changer for them.
Chris, good to see you, man. He says it feels great to know that we beat the world champs. Yes, it does feel good. But how did it feel watching your team sit at home during the playoffs?
I told you he's going to be insufferable. It's going to be like this for a year. So I don't blame you if you hit that unsubscribe button. I really don't. I'm thinking about it.
I'm not a fan.
It's true. It's very true. It was a great show.
It was.
My opinion, I think Russell Wilson kind of got undersold, and I think unanimous was a little ridiculous. I think people not picking Patrick Mahomes and not picking Russell Wilson to be the MVP, not getting one vote for each of those guys, I think was...
Patrick Mahomes didn't get it last year, and somehow Lamar Jackson's year this year is better than what Pat did last year. It's crazy.
Yeah, and everyone looks at the rushing and they want to just say, oh, he's changing the game. But I think more than that, the game changed for him. I think the Ravens did an incredible job of saying, here's what we have, and here's how we maximize the talent. And he was great. I'm not trying to undersell him. Guy's fantastic. If he's not second, he's third in the running for MVP, right? To me... When I look at Lamar Jackson, absolutely fantastic year. Is everything I asked for last year when I was like, it's not good. The passing numbers went better, even though I still think he wasn't the best passer, and I think a lot of those passes were because they did a good job of getting guys into space. He did everything we asked for. Great player. MVP caliber season.
Marquise Brown. Hollywood Brown's also a stud.
MVP caliber season. But to say unanimous and none of these guys deserve it, to me,
blows my mind, yeah.
That's where you go one step too far in my book. I would have given it to Russell Wilson. I would have voted for Russell Wilson because I don't think the Seahawks are a great team.
Guys, thank you so much for all your likes, comments, and shares. It means the world to us. I'm going to give special thanks out to everyone that commented that we saw. If we did miss your comment, I am so sorry. Trust me, it wasn't on us. It was on Facebook and our internet. But Nathan, Rob, Scott, Paul, Nate, Michael, Perry, Dalton, Austin, Ryan, Michael, Justin, Will, Ian, Martavius, Tyler, Christopher, Chris, Frank, Justin, Robert, and Chris. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much for being part of our show and joining us after that wonderful Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl championship win. Woo! How about those Chiefs?
Did I do something wrong in a past life? I was a villain. I must have been for this kind of punishment.
You killed babies.
It must have been worse than that because honestly, what ring in hell am I sitting in right now?
You killed handicapped babies. That's the kind of evil life you lived.
Save it for the unfiltered podcast, okay? Well, thank you guys again. It was great. I had a lot of fun. I'm not going to have a lot of fun for the rest of the year going forward. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to have a good time. Despite Drew, we will have a good time. I'm just kidding.
I'm having a great time. Chiefs!
We'll be back on Thursday. To talk about perhaps the XFL. We're going to get into it a little bit, for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to be into the draft, baby. I can feel it. I love the draft. We're also going to talk about free agency, everything else going on. I don't know what else we're going to talk about, but I know it's going to be fun. I hope you can join us for that. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. As always, I am Jake, your bartender. This is Drew. You already kind of got your final thoughts out there. My final thoughts are, why did it have to beat the Chiefs? All right, we'll see you on Thursday.
See ya.